I had a very strange experience. The word strange is an understatement. It definitely is something that I would categorize as organized crime. I don't know who organized it. I don't know what specific crime, but I know that it was organized and I know that it was crime. It could have been the Church of Scientology. It could have been someone using the assumption that every Black Ops action directed towards my play, The Handmaid's Dianetics, and my book, Almost Rapist, a True Crime Memoir, is going to be from the Church of Scientology or the family and extended social network of the high-profile rape suspect at the center of my book, as an umbrella to get away with some other group's agenda or interest in targeting me. It could be that this was accomplished by the church's internal surveillance wing, the Guardian's Office, or the Office of Special Affairs, as I've learned it's called just from journalism. It could be that the church has like corrupt people placed within different organizations. It could be that the church just like harassed or disoriented somebody who was associated with me on a specific endeavor to get that person to unwittingly sabotage something that I'm involved in without that person being at fault at all. It's really complex, the level of complexity that the Black Ops can take is something that, to understand, you would have to read The Unbreakable Miss Lovely by Tony Ortega. Definitely, if you read Why I Left Scientology in the Gawker Archives by Carmen Llewellyn, there is a paragraph that specifically addresses the fact that she was getting targeted with complex spyware coordinated with social engineering, for the purpose of psychological warfare. I wonder who is selling spyware to the church. Do they commission development of their own spyware? Because I guess they do have some very smart tech people involved in the church. Or are they buying it straight from, one of those companies like Pegasus or Paragon that sells high-level spyware to like governments and stuff? Or do they just use industry standards offered by exterior private investigation firms that they hire? Because from what I've read, the church also hires exterior private investigation firms, and sometimes these are full-time PIs, sometimes apparently off-duty law enforcement can also work PI jobs, as well as former intelligence agents at higher level firms like Black Cube Kroll. I think there's one in the UK called Highgate. And what are the conflicts of interests there if you have government, law enforcement, and intelligence able to work in the private sector? If you have a religious organization, 501c3, whose in-house spies work not for monetary incentive but spiritual incentive, also hiring PI firms and intelligence firms to get more specialized outsourced labor, what might the incentives be for those firms if they're targeting someone that the church says is a liability, and they know that they can prolong their contract by reporting back to the church with suspect things that the individual might be doing. Of course, I'm sure you have your standards of integrity, as you do in every industry, and anybody who does that for too long is not going to last. But it's been unfolding over time and over the course of, you know, the period where I've been watching this for my own personal necessity unfold. Quite a lot of journalism has covered the private surveillance industry really reaching a fever pitch of concern over its, you know, almost having more power than the people hiring it at this point. So on top of that, it's also an arms race. If one country has a spy wing, all the other countries have to have a spy wing. If the government has a spy wing, then organized crime needs a spy wing too. If you're a spy for hire, you can get hired as a double and a triple agent. You know, it just never ends. How do you have, like, some form of integrity? How do you have some form of maintaining, like, the overall purpose of surveillance in the first place, which is not to become a totalitarian state where private life is obliterated, but to improve quality of life and stop there. So again, I don't know who would have done this. I don't know how it was pulled off. Much of the Black Ops activity that happens towards me is a combination of psychological warfare followed by some debacle or fiasco or inconvenience or sabotage or non-ideal circumstance or botched opportunity that is coordinated with a preceding psychological warfare to basically create a sense that I somehow karmically pulled in what was done to me shortly after. And to like actively harm me, but not just stop there, to also try to create a real sense of learned helplessness, a real sense that I can't control any of this, a real sense that, you know, it's like a karmic universe force and not like a specific team of people like doing this to me. So in August of 2024, I believe it was August 20th, I had an appointment to go donate blood platelets. And I hadn't donated any blood since like high school. So it was like a 7:25 a.m. appointment. I decided to go do it because I just hadn't done anything of that nature in a long time. And I think I just saw some flyer saying that people really needed blood platelets. I actually signed up to donate plasma. They really needed like my blood type of plasma, but when I got there for my like 7:20 a.m. or something appointment, they were like, oh, we don't need it anymore. We don't need plasma. You can do platelets. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what that is, but okay. So I got on, they like signed me in and they put me on like a computer and I read like a 20-page contract or something. And, you know, I did like the pre-physical, the pre-donation, like just basic physical. And I was, by the time they sort of got me ready, the room of, I think it was like maybe 8 or 10 platelet donation, like big kind of machines, you know, with like a built-in bed that you lie on. It was like, you know, 7 or 8 people in the room, so like all the little donation beds were occupied, you know, except for the one that was waiting for me. I got in, you know, to the little bed. They put the needles and the tubes in my arm that they needed to put in, and they knew that I hadn't donated blood, you know, since high school. So you know, pretty much everything was standard. Nothing out of the ordinary. Towards the end, my time period kept prolonging by a few minutes, because it's had a little timer saying like the countdown of when the donation process was done. And the time kept extending. And some of my fingers got a little tingly, but nothing more dramatic than that. I was holding like a stress ball, and they had told me like, you know, squeeze it, but the explanation of what exactly to do with the stress ball in correlation to like the numbers on the screen had been kind of vague at first. And so like I would squeeze it like when the machine would add time, but then the explanation, it was kind of not from the beginning like totally crystal clear. And the time extended maybe a little longer than it was supposed to, but I didn't really feel any other way than what you would expect from donating blood. Maybe just a little bit colder or like lighter, and basically I just got up, and you know, after the 15 minutes, they instructed me to remain in the bed and just make sure everything was okay. You know, it was fine. I had a blanket. Maybe I was like feeling slightly cooler body temperature wise. I hadn't probed for the like importance of not letting the time go past what it was supposed to be, and, you know, squeezing the stress ball. I don't know if having like a lower BMI was at all a factor or anything, but I felt like the explanation had been a little vague until I really needed to like stop the machine, like extending my time, you know, by a few minutes piece by piece with the stress ball and everything. But nevertheless, like at the end of the donation process, it was like, you know, I just feel like I just gave blood. Nothing unexpected. Then, you know, I got out of the little 15-minute rest period in the bed. I went to their little snack lounge area, you know, for another like 15-20 minutes, totally feeling as one would expect to feel after giving blood. With platelets, they take the blood out of your body, they remove the platelets, and then they, from what I read, they put the blood back into your body with some citrate solution in the blood. It's like it's just a bit of citrate. I don't know all the complexities of citrate, but with citrate, it can lower your blood calcium levels, and it can result in temporary hypocalcemia, where you're you know, because your blood calcium levels are temporarily low, that can lead to other issues if it doesn't quickly resolve. But in most cases, it would just so anyway, but I don't think hypocalcemia is a normal result with most people who are exposed to citrate after donating platelets. Usually it's the citrate leaves your system after maybe 24 hours, and the platelets regenerate back to normal levels in your blood after a day or so, or a few days. But I just followed, all the instructions. It said, don't exercise for 3 days, don't take hot baths, make sure you get plenty of nutrition, protein, calcium. And so I went on my way. I was feeling, fine, just that kind of bit of lightness that you feel after you've given blood, just a little mildly anemic. I wasn't even lightheaded. I wasn't even nauseous. I just got some lunch and walked around the city. Pretty much went home, and I actually rested for probably a couple days. Did not exercise, felt perfectly normal, other than that slight, I just gave blood, kind of almost like a pleasant, like a refreshed, weirdly, I just gave blood feeling. And I didn't even lose any blood. They gave it right back to me. It just had, a bit of citrate in there, which again leaves your system after maybe 24 or so hours. So maybe 3 days after this, I went to a gym and did my very usual slackerly exercise routine, which would consist of me sitting on a stationary bike and doing allegedly work on my phone. Literally, that was my exercise routine, because I was I'm just being easy on myself in these post-pandemic years. It's good that I'm even on an exercise bike. I'll just sit and casually, very slow. I'm just being on the bike and getting work done on my phone. It's I'm still, that's good. That's solid. It's a win-win. I'm gonna let myself have this phone addiction while I be on the exercise bike, and that's perfectly fine. So that was my exercise routine. So the least intensity, just low, the lowest intensity on the bike, not even going fast. And that was my exercise routine. So I resumed that routine after 3 days after the blood. And that's it. Maybe the 4th day, I go home and I start feeling slight back spasms. It's really weird and unexpected. And I think I had gone into a sauna for 15 or 20 minutes, but again, this was after the 3-day period of no hot showers, no exercise. So I went home, and when I could, I simply laid down, to try to, let the spasms subside, and maybe get up and go for gentle walks, things like that. They were very low intensity back spasms. At some point, I like shift, and I literally, like, I feel something in like my lower left lateral back muscle area, like physically tear. And I'm like, what? Like, it was not like, I never experienced that before. And somehow like the muscle, I don't know, over the course of a few days, like something develops that either I didn't feel it, or it just, I don't know, somehow happened, like from my resuming like the most slackerly exercise routine, and like 20 minutes in a sauna, you know, after I was allowed to, after like donating platelets. And I have like some muscle pull like deep in my abdominals that feels like really just like it was, I can't even describe it. Fortunately, I don't feel it anymore. But it was like the most unsettling feeling of pain, because it's like in some interior abdominal muscle, to the point where you're like, is like my organ infected, or do I have like a tapeworm? Like, you can't tell, because it's like, it feels so deep inside the core of your abdominal muscle that you're like, what is going on? This is, oh, what a unsettling, like deeply interior feeling of muscle pull. And it was just like my abdominal muscles would like, I don't know what was going on in there, but I kind of was like, it was just a deeply disturbing situation happening with like some lower back and abdominal muscle thing happening all at once. And then like, because of these like strains and tears that were going on, like other parts of my back were like really like tightening to compensate for the pain that was happening in these other regions. It was just like so disturbing. And then on top of that, when I texted, because the blood center was like, hey, text us if anything weird goes on, you know, they say like, follow up with us. So I text them the blood center's like official message number, and I tell them like what's going on. And somehow like a few days later, like maybe like a couple weeks have passed at this point, somehow the conversation with the blood center vanishes from my phone. I also can't find like the email with the appointment, but it's like the text message vanishes, and it's not in my trash, my phone, my text message, like discarded text message either. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Like, you know, I'm trying to be very, at that point, I'm not thinking about, you know, I'm trying to just be very like, okay, there's no way organized crime is infiltrating the New York Blood Center. There's no way like an official New York Blood Center location, you know, where these people are, you know, medical technician professionals making, you know, like, you know, they, you know, they have a very specialized job with a lot of like technical and regulatory requirements, and they're, you know, getting paid like 40 some, 30 some, 40 some dollars an hour. Like and they work a lot. So it's, you know, it's an intense job. And there's a huge demand for blood donations. So they're not screwing around here. They've got a lot to lose. They're not gonna like do something crazy. Like, so, you know, I'm just like, why did the text message vanish? Like, you know, they didn't follow up, like they didn't respond, again. And, weird things happen. Like at my gym, I had like these two security guards like came into the locker room when I was in the locker room, and they were like talking loudly around me about like, oh, someone had a baby and their abdominal muscles like separated. And if you read Carmen Llewellyn's Why I Left Scientology, and if you read Vanity Fair's The Golden Suicides, a common thread is like people taking your private content or your private life and like basically stalking you and have these conversations in your vicinity that mirror or echo like stuff you're privately going through, just so that you feel on edge and like stalked and like almost mocked. And these two security guards like coming into the locker room like in their uniforms, which is, it's just a little jarring to see anybody in like a law or security uniform that you kind of already feel is having a conversation referencing your private life to weirdly stalk you for like some kind of Scientology linked black ops anyway. You know, if I wasn't very aware of being targeted by black ops, these passing occurrences would just seem like synchronicity to me. But you know, at this point it's so repetitive that I'm like, there's the black ops again. So yeah, these two security guards weirdly stalk me into the locker room to intentionally like talk very loudly about some woman's abdominal muscles separating because of pregnancy. So, you know, while I'm experiencing like weird inner abdominal stuff, and, you know, notice that like my abdominal muscles are sometimes also behaving as if like they've like separated from this, this weird like tear, that needs to heal. So, another really weird thing that happens that freaks me out is, like a voicemail hits my phone on October 25th of 2024. So that's like, you know, I had the blood platelet donation on August 20th, so that's like 2 months and 5 days after. I get a voicemail. It says it's from Temple University. It could be spoofed, you just don't know. In the voicemail is it's like someone called, I guess, from a room and just let their phone like go to my voicemail and then record secretly a conversation between what sounded like a mother and a daughter, and they were discussing like the daughter's distress in the hospital and saying, you know, they shaved my hair, they gave me like an infection from like the blood transfusion that they gave me. So I'm getting like this eavesdrop recording from Temple University Hospital of this mom and daughter talking about, you know, an infected blood donation, right? And it's clearly, I'm like, okay, this is clearly being done to scare me, to intimidate me. I'm also wondering who is being eavesdropped on in this conversation. Is this a real mother and daughter, or is this someone faking a conversation? Is this from like a movie? I don't understand. And who's the person, you know, creeping in this hospital room, you know, secretly making a phone call to my specific voicemail and then using it to record this conversation? Like, why is all of this happening? And, you know, it's like they're calling me and it's like someone's calling me to explicitly like send a threatening implication that, oh, we did this to you on purpose at the New York Blood Center. Now listen to this terrible thing that happened to this poor woman at the Temple University Hospital. You know, as if it's somehow karmically, you know, happening to me because it's happening to them, when really it's organized crime. Like, someone is stalking me, doing this to me, like orchestrating these things happening to me, and then trying to make me feel like it's my karmic due, you know, or as if people need to do bad things to me for me to understand empathy, and that's just not true. It's not productive. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, karma isn't people harassing you. I don't think that's what it, I'm not extremely knowledgeable about that religious belief, but when people warp this idea of karma to just be, oh, I don't like you, so I'm gonna fuck with you, that's just like organized crime. Like, that is not karma. So what happened to me was organized crime, and then they tried to, I don't know who pulled it off, but whoever did it, this is like a RICO Act situation. Then they're leaving me these like disturbing voicemails of eavesdropped conversations between a mother and daughter at Temple University Hospital discussing this like nightmarish situation at the hospital. That's just crazy. Like, who did this? Like, it sounds like somebody did this. They're either some sort of informal or formal cult, or it's like some sort of informal or formal, you know, organized criminal situation. Or it's just like, you know, some law enforcement officer who's pissed because they work for, you know, Scientology as a PI on their day off, and they don't want to lose that gig. So they're mad that I like make videos about it sometimes. It's very disturbing. This is crazy. It's definitely like, that's like a Law and Order level of disturbing at the very least. So that definitely happens. What's also kind of weird is that on October 13th, which is my birthday, like, or like the week of, you know, I was actually working at a location, where like a very powerful real estate mogul, who, after weird stuff started happening to me there, I Googled him, and lo and behold, his family and the family of somebody connected to the high profile rape suspect in my book are like posed together at these high profile events on like public Getty images. So I'm like, okay, did he hire my employer to low key like torture me with his like organized crime connections? Because he has, in the news, like there's articles about things he's done in the past that are like connected to actual like organized crime people who've been straight up, you know, shot and killed after things that they've collaborated on with him. Not sure if that was connected. But anyway, I'm like, this guy, you know, he may have hired my employer to, you know, torture me in some way for writing this book. So we don't know if this guy is using my workplace as a way of surveilling me, and if that's connected to the blood center thing. It could be like some organized criminal got somebody at the blood center to kind of plausibly, deniably just let the citrate go a little too long, you know, orchestrating with my lifestyle, knowing that I'd be prone to some sort of muscle injury that they could pull off by kind of like a Rube Goldberg series of social engineering. So like this sales executive, out of the blue, the week of my birthday, where like a month or two has passed since the blood donation and my muscles are actually feeling better, right? She treats us all to these like 15-minute massages. Never once in my 2.5 years at this location did anything like that ever take place. And I didn't tell anyone it was my birthday, and the massages were not like, oh, it's your birthday. It was like, oh, I have a few extra appointments. Do you ladies want this? So I was like, oh, cool. I should have known, because at that point, the weird organized crime stuff was definitely happening at work too. But I thought, oh, maybe she's like one of the good people protecting me. I don't think there were those people. I think it was like weird spies embedded who would like wait for the right moment to betray my trust after spending a long time gaining it. This workplace was so highly engineered. Like, for all I know, everybody there could have been working for Black Huber Kroll or like Highgate or one of those places. For all I know, the dude at the center of my book got this real estate guy, the dude's family, got this real estate guy to somehow, put me in a workplace where they try to hire a bunch of expert witnesses to find anything criminally wrong with me, to say that my memoir is like, a crime or a sham or something, which would, nobody's going to be able to do that unless they themselves are like a crime or a sham. We get these massages, and a day or so later, like, I start to feel the pain return, and it wasn't even an intense massage, but then I started reading these news reports about like people randomly dying after getting massages, and like massages where you like hit the right points and it can really, and anyway, I was like, oh my God, why? Like, the massage, it felt like nothing. It was 15 minutes. It was like this person giving the massage was literally doing nothing. So I'm just like, I didn't really know if that was supposed to actually harm me or just make me weirdly paranoid. But that did happen, and I think I don't really need to go on farther. Like, the voicemail from Temple University and just the weirdness of the blood center email vanishing is enough. That happened. So I don't know if like people at the blood center intentionally, plausibly, deniably, made sure to not communicate the way they should have about certain things. I don't know if they were actually totally innocent and like some Scientology goon, was waiting to, mess with them that morning so that they'd be just a little out of sorts and not quite do their job the way they were supposed to. I don't know, but it definitely happened. It was definitely organized. It was definitely crime, and I don't know by who.
You okay? You sure?
No, not really. She just saying dumb stuff.
Huh? It's Oscar.
Tell her you should be lucky somebody shot to her 8 times. She's still alive.
Well, look, if it was good for you to not be here, you wouldn't. So they shot it 8 times for a reason, sweetie.
So yeah, but then look at my leg is big. I don't want to give me nothing else for it but Tylenol, which is not going to work. And then all these bed sores I got in my head, they shaved half of my head, left me with braids.
They had to. They did it for a reason. It's not like your hair's not going to grow back.
And the blood they gave me an infection.
Did it? Well, yeah, look at it. Thank God you're still living. You can get through it. Mm-hmm. That's how you gotta look at it, sweetie. Stop looking at everything in a negative way. Think positive so you can get your health together and get out of here. You don't want to be in the hospital, do you?
Mama asked my dad to take me to the
Sierra.
Can you come towards me?
Go the other way now, Sierra.
Mm-hmm. No, I can't turn that much.
We're gonna help you. Pull yourself as much as you can. She got the phone resting. Jam.